Good day, folks, and I'm so excited because this is the first episode of the series on running. I've been doing several different series in this channel, Spirit in the Wilderness. I started off with the autism series. I've done one video so far. I intend to do more in that particular series. Then I went on to the Bible series. I've done a number of videos on that. And then I started doing the Roman Catholic issue, and I've done many videos in that category. And the one of the most important series is energy management, where we talk about managing our energy rather than managing time. And managing energy is a more efficient way of managing our resource that actually fuels our participation in the activities of our life that matter to us. And I will give you the full credit where it is due in due time. So stay tuned to that. But this particular series is on running. So this series of videos in this category is purely on running. So there will be a series on running, there will be a series on body weight exercises, there will be a series on weightlifting, and then there will be a series on energy management. Now, this particular one is purely on running. So if you look at this playlist, it will be all videos on running. Now, you'll be wondering, why am I doing this first video at home? Well, I came back from my run in the afternoon. It was swelteringly hot outside. I became very thirsty. I've drunk up, but my voice hasn't entirely returned. But nevertheless, I'm going to tell you not only about this channel, but I'm going to start you off with the two most important principles that I feel that govern any kind of training regimen that you participate in. Now, the screen went off earlier, so which is why I took time off to press. I'm still new to this, using the selfie stick, so I'm not sure why it is like that, or to this mobile phone for that matter. I usually record off my iPad for my videos, and this is my new Vivo phone, so I'm recording off this camera. Now, okay, so these two principles I'm going to talk about today sound so simple that I'll wager 99 to 100% of people will tell you they know these. But I'll also tell you that apart from professional runners and competitive runners, most runners or most people who partake in running as an exercise do not practice these two principles, at least not both of them at the same time. And you need to, if you want to see progress, if you want to see results in your running training, you need to have these two principles in your program all the time, okay? So what are they? Now, bear in mind again, try to stay alert to the principles and try to understand them rather than just thinking to yourself, I'm just going to switch off because it's something I've heard a gazillion times. The two principles are, number one, the principle of progression, and number two, the principle of goal setting. Sound very simple, right? There's more than what meets the eye, and here's why. You see, when we say principle of progression, we've got to start with where we are currently at. And that's where most amateurs and most beginners in running fail. So, for example, one of the most common mistakes is that, you see my screen has just turned off again. In future, I've got to learn how to do this, otherwise I'll keep getting distracted. One of the most common mistakes is that, I used to run 5 kilometers in 16 minutes, okay? And I haven't run a 5 km race in 20 years, and now I'm gonna go at it again. And you know your current fitness level is maybe 25 minutes or longer than that, and you're gonna try and push, and you can't understand why you can't even run under 20 minutes. You see, you're not starting at your current level, so you're not complying with the principle of progression. To use the principle of progression, you've got to start at your current level. It doesn't matter even if you could run sub 15 minutes for 5K in the past. If you have not done it for a long time, or you're starting after a long layoff, you've got to start at your current level. Okay, and your current level, if it's 25 minutes, if it's 27 minutes, start from that level and progress. That's the first principle. You've got to start at your current level and you've got to progress. So most people, they start at the current level. If you're talking about amateurs, I've seen some people, they might have taken up slow jogging in their 20s and 30s. They might even run 10 km in the morning, 10 km in the evening, and they might have done it over the last 30, 40 years. And then you look at them in their 50s and 60s and even 70s, and they're still doing the same thing. And then they're wondering why they don't progress, or you see them sprinting after a bus and they injure themselves. And the simple reason is that there's no progression. They're stuck at that same pace with no variation in pace throughout the run training, and therefore the body is not conditioned to go any faster. And this is a problem because the body has to be conditioned to run at different paces if you do want to be able to cope with various paces as the race or as the consequence that as the environment that you're in demands. So for example, if you're sprinting after a bus, you don't want to miss the bus, you're going at a pace much faster than you would normally run your 10 km runs at a jogging pace, say, okay? So you've got to add a variety of paces in your run. Even if you don't do it as structured speed work, you've got to vary the pace in your runs. You've got to somehow insert these variations of pace in your run. Now, when we're talking about progression, if you started running 10 kilometers in an hour, and 20 years later you're still running running 10 kilometers in an hour, you've not made any progress at all. So you haven't followed the principle of progression. The principle of progression means, let's say every month, every couple of months, you've got to increase the pace. Otherwise, you're not improving whatsoever. That's principle of progression. Second principle is the principle of goal setting. If you have no goals, or if your goal is so low that, some people have this general idea that, hey, I'm going to just keep fit. I just want to keep fit. And what is keeping fit? I remember in the most basic fitness instructor's certification course I attended, we were taught this. What does your client want to do? What is keeping fit when they tell you, I just want to keep fit? So you've got to break it down in detail. What exactly do you mean by keeping fit? Is it to pass your IPPT, your 1.5 mile, 2.4 kilometer run? Is it to be able to do more pull-ups? What exactly is your definition of keeping fit? To be able to run after the bus, to be able to play soccer with your child in the weekend or with your friends, to be able to play tennis or squash. What is your definition of keeping fit? So this screen keeps going off. Please bear with me as I navigate through this, as I'm not used to this camera at all. But you get the idea. You've got to goal set, and your goals can have an overarching goal that is much further on, and then you have got to have sub goals. Goals for every quarter, every 3 months. Goals for every month. Now that's breaking it down, but you've got to have at least an overarching goal, a goal that is far away. So for example, you run 10 kilometers in an hour now, and you say that's all you can do. I'm huffing and puffing and I can't even run any faster. And if you're thinking like that, then you're not really, you're not making use of the principle of progression and the principle of goal setting, because if you goal set, you can set your goal even at 35 minutes, 33 minutes, but nobody's asking you to achieve that by the end of this year. If you're running 10 kilometers in an hour, you might be able to achieve 33 minutes in 3 years, 5 years, right? But you've got a goal that you're working towards. So the principle of progression is we must start at our current level. We have to slowly increase the pace gradually. And I'll show you in detail how to do this. It's not a straight linear line going up. That way you just destroy yourself, okay? I'm going to show you in detail how we use undulating intensities and volume to get you to improve over time. But then we've got to have an overarching, a main goal that is further on down the road to aim towards. And most people, they set this goal too close to where they are. They say, okay, I'm running 10 kilometers in an hour now. I want to aim for 55 minutes or 50 minutes, and that's all. But then they're not fulfilling their potential, because in 3 years down the road, if you're running in an hour, 10 kilometers in an hour, you shouldn't be running 50 minutes in an hour 3 years down the road. You should be way faster than that. So we're talking about your potential. Of course, if your overarching goal is really to just run 50 minutes for 10 kilometers, then so be it. But those are two very important principles I hope you'll bear in mind. And do come back to this channel again. More and more videos will be filmed outdoors if I figure out how to work this camera, okay? Right now, I'm going to revert to using my iPad so we don't get all these disruptions. But thank you and stay tuned. Have a blessed day.